Oh my goodness, Trisha, thank you for telling me my sound was off. So hey there, I'm a holistic mama doc, Dr. Elisa Song, holistic pediatrician and pediatric functional medicine expert. Give me a thumbs up if my sound is on. Give me a heart. Let me know if you can hear me now. I'm hoping that you can, because I'm hearing a lot of people saying that they can't hear me. Yes, thank you, Brooke, for letting me know that we are on. So I'm so glad you're joining me here today. Today we're going to talk about natural ways to boost your child's immune system. I am going to share with you. Actually, I'm going to turn off my sound here. I'm going to share with you everything that I do for my kids, that I teach the patients in my practice to keep their immune systems healthy and thriving through the winter months, and also what you can do when your kids actually get sick with a fever. So many of you guys are here. Hey, Kathy Ann. Great. You can hear me now. Beverly, Mary, Lindsay, it's so great to hear you. Give me a thumbs up or a heart if you're so excited to learn this information, because I'm super excited to teach this and share this with you. Tell me who you are, where you're from, how old your kids are, whatever you want to share, and also what questions you have. We're going to try to save our questions up to the end, so we have a ton of material to go through. I really want to make sure that this masterclass is everything that you want to get out of it, okay? So if you're excited to learn more tips than what you're already doing on keeping your kids healthy through the cold and flu season, give me a heart or a thumbs up. I know in Australia, you all are heading into your spring season right now, so you're heading out of the winter, but fall term, the school term is starting up again, and of course it's still back to school no matter where in the world you are. Now, some of your kids may have already gotten sick with a fever or a flu, or we actually have hand, foot, and mouth going around. I'm here in the San Francisco Bay Area, so if your kid has already gotten sick, then give me a sad face, give me an angry face. Let me know, how many of you guys are dealing with back to school blues, because I know, most of us, our kids are back in school by now. My kids started the last week of August. I know some schools around here started mid-August. Some schools started just last week. But by now, most kids are back in school. So I want to make sure that I'm sorry, my sound is going. I'm going to turn this off. Okay, so I want to make sure that you are ready to go for the winter season. All right. I'm hoping that I didn't cut out, because I'm trying this on. Here we go. For some reason, I can't see my live stream here. Can you guys still see me? Because I want to make sure that you guys can still see me. Okay, so let me just do one thing. I really apologize, guys. I'm trying to do a bunch of things at once. So here we go. All right, so before we begin, what I want to make sure that you guys do, which is what I'm trying to do right now. Hey, Corey, great. Glad you can hear me. Linda, you're from Detroit. You have 2 kids. Jessica from Texas. Colleen, oh, your kids are currently congested, so hopefully we'll give you some tips right there. Terry, hey, Terry, good to see you. Kathy, hey. Sue, you're watching from New Jersey. I hope you're doing great. So what I'm going to do right now is actually go onto my feed, and I want you guys to share this on your profile. Tag any friends who aren't on, who could benefit from this. Share this with whomever you can, because this information is so valuable. I want to make sure that everyone has it, okay, if they need it. So let's see. What I'm going to do today is something a little bit different than what I've done before in my Facebook Lives. I really want to make this a masterclass. So I actually made some slides for a presentation, because I want to make sure that we get through everything that I promised to get through. There's a lot of material to cover. So to keep me on track, I thought it'd be best if I made some slides. There's a ton of information. So what I want to make sure that you do right now is go right to your workbook, okay, on your slides, actually on your initial post or email that you got, or maybe you saw this on Facebook. There was a link to download the first part 1, boosting your child's immune system workbook. It looks like this. If you have your workbook, let me know. Give me a thumbs up. If you don't have it, what I've done right now is actually post it right in the comments. Okay, so I want to make sure that you get it, and it's right there. The link is going to be up. right on top. Okay, so download it. Hey, Daniela from Arnold, Caddy Katushka from Houston. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is get going on our presentation. Good, Kathy, you have your workbook. The reason why I want you guys to have your workbook is because we're going through a lot of information and I want you to have this information to keep with you. Now, many of you have asked if this recording will be available for replay. And yes, it's going to be on my Facebook page. I'm going to keep it up for you. Some of you, well, all of you are on Facebook right now, but some people have said that they don't do Facebook. So if you don't do Facebook, then I will make sure that it's on YouTube as well, on my YouTube channel. Okay, so I'm going to do a screen share. And I also want to, really thank you guys who have been following me for a while and getting my newsletters and following my blog, for being patient with me over the summer while I just took a little break, much needed break to just kind of hang out with my family and have some downtime. But I'm back. I'm a little rusty on Facebook Live, as you can see, trying to figure out the tech, but I'm back now, and I really, really want to make sure that you get great content, great information, and always welcome your questions and really what you'd like to hear about. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to share my screen right here. Oops. Actually, that's my entire screen. Okay, sorry about that. I actually need to share my slides. Here we go. And there we go. All right. All right, guys. So let me know if you can see this. I'm trying to multitask. I'm actually on my phone trying to see your comments. And I'm also on my Zoom here trying to make sure that everything is ready for you guys to go. Okay. So again, give me a thumbs up that you can see this. I want to make sure that the tech is working well. Make sure that you have everything at your fingertips. The workbook, make sure that you download it right now. It's on your comments. I just put it down up above. So just scroll to the top of the comments and you'll see the workbook link. Okay. And let's go. So this is part 1 of our 3-part Back to School Success series, a holistic pediatrician's guide to back to school success. So why did I want to do this? Because invariably, as soon as school starts, I get a lot of questions, a lot of calls from parents. Their kids are getting sick, or the kid sitting next to their kid is getting sick, and they want to know how can they boost their kid's immune system so they don't get as sick as often as they did maybe last year. They also want to know how to reduce their kids' anxiety, because kids are really anxious with this transition. The first month back to school is tough for all of us, right? It's tough for us mamas, and papas trying to get back into routine, getting used to packing those lunches again, waking up a little earlier than we probably did over the summer, and just getting back to that go, go, go pace. So we all have anxiety that we can work on. So that's going to be part 2 of our back to school series, how to reduce your child's anxiety naturally. And these are tips that you can use as a mama or a papa as well if you're feeling some anxiety with back to school. I know I am. So these tips are really things that I always incorporate into my life. That's going to be next Wednesday, September 19. That's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so be sure to check your time zone. The third part of the series is going to be about maybe a month, maybe a little bit less than, a little bit more than that, after your kids have started school. And by that point, a lot of parents are starting to worry about, my child's attention and focus doesn't seem as optimal as I'd like it to be or as it should be. They're struggling with sitting still, struggling with paying attention to what's going on in class. And so part 3 is all about how to improve your child's focus naturally. So 3-part series, be sure to tune into all 3. I'll have a workbook for you as well for each series so you can take notes. And it's going to be on my Healthy Kids, Happy Kids Facebook page that you're on right now if you're listening to this live. So you know who I am. This is just a little background about me. These are my kids, Kenzie and Bodhi. They are now 8 and just turned 7. They're in 3rd and 2nd grade. And these are the lights of my life, right? These are my why. These are my teachers every single day. And these are what keep me going in my practice and in my life, and really why I want to bring all this information out to you, because I want every parent to have the information that I've been able to learn over the past 20 years in integrating conventional and alternative medicine, really integrating the best of the conventional and the integrative world. So I am a board certified pediatrician. I'm a holistic integrative pediatrician. I integrate functional medicine, homeopathy, traditional Chinese medicine like acupuncture and herbs, and essential oils into the practice. And this is what I teach parents every day in my practice. And this is what I'd like to teach you guys today. My practice is whole family wellness, but where you probably are following me right now and seeing me is with Healthy Kids, Happy Kids, the online education site that I started. And I did host 2 amazing, incredible online educational events called the Thriving Child Summit. I know that many of you have participated in 2016 and 2017. The lectures there are timeless, so incredible. It's really the information that I want every single parent to have. So let me know if you guys have participated in the Thriving Child Summit. For sure, let me know. I am thinking about doing another one next year. I had thought about doing one this year, but life just got in the way. So if you'd like one and you let me know, give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, let me know in the comments, because I for sure listen to you guys and just want to do what's valuable for you guys. Okay, of course, I have a disclaimer on this. I'm going to be talking about integrative treatment. So just make sure you know your child best, you know their sensitivities, you know their allergies, you know what they tolerate and what they don't tolerate. So listen to your mama gut or your papa gut, and of course, work with your practitioner if you can to make sure that whatever I'm recommending is going to be safe for your child. And everything I'm recommending, as I said, are what I use for my kids, what I use for myself and my family, my husband, and what I use for the patients in my practice. All right, so stop again one more time if you're just joining me. Download the workbook for our masterclass. This is the link to it. There's also a link to the masterclass on the comment section. I was trying to pin that comment section, but if you are having trouble finding it, just scroll all the way up. It's almost way at the top. That's the direct link that you can actually click on if you don't have the workbook. Hopefully you guys have the workbook, because I want to make sure you get the most out of this class. The workbook looks like this. So print it. You actually don't even have to print it if you don't want to. I know who was saying that they actually have it on their iPad. It's an editable PDF, so you can actually just type directly into it. I know that's what I do, because my typing is actually much faster and neater than my handwriting. I definitely have doctor's handwriting. So I want you guys to make the most out of our time together. I want you to take notes, take away from our talk tonight some action steps you can take with you and start tomorrow. And I also want you to have this as a reference. And most importantly, I want you to have this to take with you to any care providers and your partner or grandparents, to let them know what you learned and also get them on board with this holistic integrative journey for your family's health. So jot down any questions that you have that I haven't answered. Again, I'm going to go through a ton of information. I will likely answer your question during the course of the webinar. So I'm going to try to peek at my phone periodically and answer questions as we go. But I'm going to try to save most of the questions to the end, because I want to make sure that we get through all the material. Okay? So you guys still with me? Give me a thumbs up. Make sure that you're still with me. I'm just going to scroll through right now before we start and see if there is anything that I need to address right now. Oh, Catherine's from Australia, Catherine Elizabeth. Trisha, I didn't know that you were from New York City. I'm actually from New Jersey originally, and Brandy's from Laramie, Wyoming. Gosh, we have people from all over. I know there's a mama from Germany who wanted to listen, but it's 3 in the morning in Germany, so she can listen to the replay. Stephanie from Birmingham. Catherine Elizabeth, you had a question about the flu vaccine, so I do want to just make a side note. Last year I did a class online on the flu virus and the flu vaccine, and tips to really manage the flu season with an update on the flu vaccine. So definitely I will do that again. It's likely going to be sometime in maybe late October or early November, when the flu season is really going to start to take off. There's really not much flu around in the States right now, okay? So look for that. In the meantime, what you can do is go onto the Healthy Kids, Happy Kids page and just search for the flu vaccine and flu season Facebook Live that I did last year, because that was a long class. I think we went well over an hour and just discussed a ton of information. Okay. Gina. So, hey, Gina. Gina's in Canada, already hit with our first cold. Okay, so we're going to talk about that at the end. You guys will get some tips on what to do for fevers and colds. Okay, some of your kids are coughing. All right, so we're gonna address all of that. Okay. Oh, and we have Jenny, who was in my acupuncture course. So I love to teach. I love to teach parents. I love to teach practitioners. I teach pediatric acupuncture to practitioners. I teach clinical homeopathy to physicians. So I just want this information to get out. Right? I want everyone to know the power of integrating conventional and complementary medicine, the power of really having a natural approach in addition, not instead of, but in addition to a conventional approach, because you will get the best of both worlds and your kids will thrive and not use unnecessary medicines and not have unnecessary treatments, but have them when they are really needed. So this is what our workshop is going to teach you, okay? All right, so we're going to talk about common sense measures to keep your kids and healthy through the cold and flu season, get their immune system boosted. What I want you to do is flip to your workbook. This is your first homework. We're going to write down our 6 common sense measures. So the first common sense measure, wash those hands. This is not rocket science. You guys are already telling your kids to wash their hands, but really make sure that they're washing their hands. You know, my son is 7 right now, and I don't hover over him at the sink while he's washing his hands anymore. But, you know, I just assume that he knows how to wash his hands. But, you know, actually over the summer, I was shocked to see that he was just kind of barely putting his hands under the water, barely any soap, sometimes no soap, sometimes not even, just a little splash under the water, and that was it. So we need to teach our kids, scrub those hands, right? Scrub those hands, scrub in between the fingers, get under the fingernails, or all those places where germs love to hide out and stay trapped. And just plain old soap and water. You don't need hand sanitizing spray. In fact, those chemical hand sanitizers do more harm than good. You can, I know that for many kids, you know, at school, it can be hard to go and wash their hands in the bathrooms. Either the bathroom isn't as accessible, or let's face it, sometimes school bathrooms just aren't that pleasant, right? And your kids don't want to go. So you can make a great hand sanitizer, a natural hand sanitizer with essential oils. And you could just look up some of the recipes online, but some of my favorite essential oils to use in a hand sanitizer are lavender for its anti-inflammatory and calming effects. For school, I love to throw in some peppermint because that helps keep kids alert and focused and awake during class. And you can use orange. I love citrus blossom scents because citrus is such a joyful scent. So you can use a variety of scents, okay? But wash those hands, make sure they're washing their hands before they touch their eyes, before they, you know, touch their nose or their mouth, after they blow their nose, before they eat, okay? All right, so common sense number 2, measure number 2. So common sense measure number 2, write that down, is to stay hydrated. I can't emphasize enough the importance of staying hydrated. We are a society of chronically dehydrated kids and adults. So rarely do kids and adults get enough to drink. And how do you know what's enough to drink? Well, I wrote a little rule of thumb here. The minimum amount of fluid that your child should be drinking in ounces would be to take their body weight in pounds and divide it by 2. So if you have a 50-pound child, then at a minimum, you want them to be drinking about 25 ounces of fluid a day. Now that fluid can be water, it can be tea, it can be bone broth, it can be electrolyte drinks, but you want them to have that amount of fluid. Of course, if it's a really hot day, right? Or if they've been running around and sweating a lot, then you want to make sure that they drink even more because they're going to have increased fluid requirements. If they have a fever, they have increased fluid requirements because they're losing even more water through their sweat and their breath because they might be breathing a little bit faster. So I like to make this really easy for kids. Now, the first thing that you want to do is take your workbook and just down here on the bottom, calculate out how much water your child should be drinking. That's the first step, right? So just if you know your child's weight in pounds, calculate it out, divide that by 2, and just write down that's the number of ounces that I want my child to drink every day, and tell your child that, right? Give me a thumbs up if this is making sense. Give me a sad face if it's not making sense, and I can go over it again. But I really like to make it as easy as possible. And how do I do that? Well, know how much water can fill up your child's water bottle, right? Whether they have a 12 ounce or a 16 ounce, maybe they have a 17 ounce, hydro flask, or maybe they have a bigger 32 ounce one. But if you know exactly how many ounces is in that flask, so let's say that they have a 12 ounce water bottle and you want them to drink at least 25 ounces of water, then just let them know, you need to drink 2 of these each day, and do a little contest or do a little game. Pick a weekend where all they're drinking, they're just filling up their water bottle and drinking it, and making sure they're drinking 2 of those a day so they know what that feels like to drink that much. Do this yourself. I actually have a variety of mason jars. Now, this mason jar that I have, it's a big one. It's 24 ounces. But I know my goal every day is to have a minimum of 3, maybe 4 of these a day. And if I have it in front of me, I know it goes down, I fill it up again, and then it goes down, and so on and so on. Guaranteed, if I don't have that mason jar in front of me at work, then I don't drink enough. Because it's not in front of me, it's not a constant reminder, a visual reminder to drink, and I don't know how much I've had to drink if I just go to the water cooler and just get little cups, okay? All right, so that's common sense measure number 2. Common sense measure number 3, blow your nose. Why do we want to blow our nose? If you follow me, this is, how much I love X-Clear nasal spray. So X-Clear nasal spray, it's a saline spray that comes in a spray bottle. For older kids, it also comes in little drops if you have infants. It also has xylitol and grapefruit seed extract. So why do I love xylitol and grapefruit seed extract so much? Well, xylitol and grapefruit seed extract both have germ-fighting capabilities. They can help fight your kid's flu or fever or cold or whatever's going on. Xylitol actually also helps to prevent ear infections and helps prevent cavities, which is why it's in a lot of toothpastes. So use it preventatively, right? Of course, when you're congested and your kids are sick, you're going to be clearing their nose and having them blow out so they're not as congested. But you want to also make sure that you use it preventatively. Why is that? Well, if your kid, goes on a plane ride, you're on a plane ride and exposed to maybe the person coughing in the seat behind you, or they go to a birthday party and you notice that the friend that they're sitting next to is sneezing all over the table and they've been exposed. Well, it takes about 12 to 24 hours for all of those germs, those cold germs or those flu germs to grow and colonize in their nasal passages before they get symptoms. So if you can immediately flush out those germs before they can take hold and colonize, you can actually nip that infection in the bud. So this is one of the best things to do every night or every day after school or after exposure. So this is what I do over the holidays for myself, my husband, and my children after we fly, on holidays. So we have the Thanksgiving holidays coming up. We have the winter holidays coming up. So if you'll be flying or traveling, then make sure that you use this as well, okay? Okay, common sense measure number 4. You want to get fresh air and daily exercise. Why is that so important? Well, daily exercise, just moderate exercise, even as little as 20 minutes a day, has been found to boost the immune system and significantly reduce the risk of getting sick. So most of us don't get enough exercise. We want to make it a family affair. Do this together, right? Go for a brisk walk around your neighborhood after dinner. Go for a family bike ride. Go for a weekend hike together, but make it a family affair. Make it a family affair to stay healthy together, right? And then getting that fresh air has even more benefits. To be out in nature, hopefully get all the beneficial mood boosting and immune boosting benefits of being out in nature. Common sense number 5, get your Z's. So in order to support your immune system optimally, you need to be getting enough sleep. This is kids and adults. And we are also, I mentioned that we are a society of chronically dehydrated children and adults. We are also a society of chronically sleep-deprived children and adults. The vast majority of kids and adults don't get enough sleep. So if you feel like you're getting enough sleep, then by all means, give me a thumbs up and you're doing the right thing. If you don't think your kids are getting enough sleep or you're getting enough sleep or they're not, then give me a sad face because that's me. I know I'm not getting enough sleep. My children probably get enough sleep because I prioritize it. So I want you guys to prioritize sleep. Sleep is healing. Sleep pretty much trumps everything else. Kids grow in their sleep. Literally, you release growth hormone in your sleep. Your brain actually shrinks by about almost half its volume to be bathed in this fluid called the glymphatic system to clear out all the toxins that were exposed during the day. Our brain lays down memories and new connections in our sleep. And sleep allows our body to rest and heal. So prioritize sleep. So a lot of parents want to know, how much sleep is enough sleep? So this is the American Academy of Pediatrics, their guidelines on the amount of sleep recommended for various age populations. You can see it's a wide range. So when parents ask me how much sleep should my kids get, well, it depends, right? It depends on the kid, but I can tell you most kids don't get enough sleep. But this is going to be, a pretty good guideline for you. I would err on the side of trying to have more sleep, knowing that when kids are overtired and overly sleep deprived, it's actually harder to fall asleep, right? You know, you guys have been through this, right? When you're super tired and you're super wired and you're exhausted and you're laying in bed and you just can't wait to fall asleep, but your body and your brain won't let you, right? So many of our kids are in that state constantly. So prioritize sleep and know that when you're looking at the number of hours of sleep, so for instance, my children, they probably get on average maybe, as I mentioned, they're 7 and 8. They probably get at least 10 to 10 and a half, maybe 11 hours of sleep a night. They're, knock on wood, they are great sleepers. But if I want to make sure that they get at least 10 hours of sleep, you really need to think about making sure that that bedtime routine happens at least half an hour before your expected or hoped for bedtime, right? Now, on top of that, many kids and adults have trouble actually falling asleep. So if you know it takes your child half an hour, 45 minutes to fall asleep, well, then you need to start even earlier, right? Because this amount of sleep is not the same as amount of time in bed. It's really the amount of time asleep, okay? All right, so take out your workbook. I have a space for up to 3 kids. If you have more than 3 kids, by all means, add your lines. But just jot down here so you can tell your babysitter, you can tell your partner, you can tell grandma and grandpa, you know, who the kids are going to be staying with this weekend. This is the number of hours of sleep that they really should be getting to support their optimal health, right? We all want our kids to be healthy. Grandparents want their grandkids to be healthy. Your babies and your nanny want your kids to be healthy. So if we want to keep them as healthy as possible, it really, really is important to prioritize that sleep, especially if you know that they've been exposed to an illness or they're just a little bit under the weather. Then even more importantly, prioritize that sleep. And it's tough. It is tough. I know for me, I get home at 6 o'clock at night, sometimes a little later. We're rushing to get dinner on the table. Sometimes I have to admit, we're not eating dinner until 7, maybe 7:30. I would love to have dinner ready by 6:30, but it doesn't always happen. And so then if you're having dinner at 7:30, well, bedtime is probably not going to happen until maybe 8:30. And then maybe not lights out until 9. So ideally, I would love my kids to be in bed by 8 o'clock. And so you want to be thinking about these things. And if it's a night that you're a little bit late, well, you might have to skip some of the game nights, you know, that you usually have, or, you know, the 10 stories that you usually read and cut it down to 1 story. Keep your snuggles down to, you know, 3 minutes instead of 20 minutes, right? Sleep is truly a priority. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna look to see if there's any questions right now. Gia writes, her 15-month-old refuses X-Clear spray. Is there anything else that I can use as a substitute? Well, you know, the X-Clear spray with the xylitol and the grapefruit seed extract, I have had some kids and adults say that it kind of stings a little bit. I don't get that. I think if you use it drops, it doesn't sting as much, but you can use a plain saline spray. That's totally fine. And Melissa writes, does the 30 minutes before sleep include reading a book? Yes, whatever you do in your 30-minute, in your bedtime routine, right? Brushing teeth, you know, going potty, maybe taking a shower, you know, getting clothes out for the next day, whatever, you know, packing your backpack, whatever you have as your bedtime routine and your nighttime routine, you want to have that included in that 30 minutes before you actually try to get them into bed. Okay. All right. Last common sense measure, get Zen, right? Minimize stress. Stress, emotional stress causes as much inflammation in our cells and in our immune system as physiologic stress. So we really need to look at psychological and emotional stress as one of the biggest toxins to our bodies and our immune systems and to our brain. So we want to teach our kids and teach ourselves how to manage our stress optimally. not ignore it, not brush it under the rug, not pretend like it's not there, but manage it appropriately and healthily so that we're more vibrant and resilient with each stressor that comes. So important. This is going to be the topic of next week's Masterclass Part 2, the Part 2 of the Back to School Masterclass, where I'll talk to you guys about how to reduce your child's anxiety naturally. Okay, so there's some great tips and tools that I want to share with you. So stay tuned, and also be sure to stay tuned for a second workbook that I'll be working on this weekend to get out to you guys. All right, so we talked about some common sense measures to keep your child healthy. The next step in thinking about how to keep our children healthy for the cold and flu season, for back to school, for the holidays, whatever it is to think about food, right? Food truly is medicine. So give me a sad face or a thumbs up if you guys are having struggles thinking about what foods can support your child's immune system and how to get that into them. Because I know for many of us, with small children, with big children, food aversions, sensory issues, texture issues, pickiness can be an issue, right? So we just do our best, right? It's one step at a time, but I'm going to share with you guys what are the most important foods to think about when we're thinking about immune boosting. There are going to be other things to think about when we think about, foods that might enhance our brain function, right? The brain foods, which we're going to be talking about in the third masterclass in 2 weeks on how to improve your kids' focus naturally, and some foods that might enhance calming and relaxation that we'll talk about next week. Okay, but now we're focusing on foods to really target the immune system. So yes, I'm seeing a bunch of comments about picky eaters, and Corey asked about food when dealing with leaky gut. Definitely a big issue that we need to think about, and I have had a masterclass, a 3-part series on Facebook Live on all about gut health. So that actually is another really important point, that in order for our immune systems to be healthy, our gut needs to be healthy. So be sure to look those up. They're all in the archived videos on my Facebook page. All right, so an apple a day really does keep the doctor away. So you want to make sure to focus on eating that rainbow. There are different ways that, different games that we can make up to help our kids think about eating that rainbow. But why is it really, really important to focus on eating a rainbow? Well, because each color represents a different phytonutrient or mineral or vitamin or antioxidant that provides different benefits for our immune system, for detoxification, for how our brain is working, for how our skin is healing. So many different benefits. So really thinking about eating that rainbow of fruits and vegetables a day. How many servings should kids eat? Well, this is the same thing for kids and adults. Most of us don't get nearly enough vegetables, and I will fully admit that on many days I don't get enough vegetables. Even for me, I'm trying to get vegetables into my kids, at all 3 meals. I don't do the best job with myself, and we really want to think about a minimum of 5 servings, and even 9 servings. 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day would be awesome, focusing more on the vegetables and the fruit. But let's start with baby steps. If your kids have 0 produce in their life right now, or they're only eating fruits and no vegetables, we'll start with working on 1 vegetable. Okay, so just 1 sip at a time. Okay, and these phytonutrients and antioxidants are going to provide great immune supporting benefits. So what are the most important antioxidants to think about in our diets? Vitamin C, vitamin A, and vitamin E, and the mineral zinc are probably our most important immune supporting nutrients. So we'll go through what foods are going to be rich in those. Melissa asked, cooked raw or does it matter? If your kids are picky, whatever way they'll have it. But I think, cooked or raw is fine. I think, we eat our vegetables in a variety of different ways, because I think variety is the way to really not have your kids get tired of any particular food. I don't recommend boiling, though. That's probably one of the ways I don't recommend, because boiling will leach out all of those minerals and vitamins from those vegetables that you're boiling, unless, I mean, you could always then use that water to cook your rice with, or maybe cook your pasta with. So that's another way to kind of repurpose that and get more of those minerals back in. But otherwise, steaming, sauteing, roasting, you know, lots of delicious ways to enjoy your vegetables. So vitamin C, so this is where I'm going to have you take out your workbook again. All right, if you guys are just joining me right now and you haven't downloaded your workbook, just scroll up to the top of the comments. There's a section that download your workbook, so you can take notes and have these with you as a reference. You can share with your partner who may have wanted to listen but couldn't, share with friends. Also note again that as soon as this class is done, it's going to be posted up on the Facebook page for you to listen to again. And I'm also going to post it on my YouTube channel. Okay, so make sure that you're there, that you have this ready to go. So what I want you to do now is, on this list, I have down 4 boxes for vitamin C rich foods, vitamin A rich foods, vitamin E rich foods, and zinc rich foods. So I want you to just take a moment as we go through this list. Look at some of the top foods for each of those categories and write down any foods that your kid is already eating, because that's awesome, right? Give me a thumbs up or a heart if your kids are already eating a lot of these vitamin C rich foods. And if they're not yet eating a lot of these foods, and I say yet, I always like to use yet, right? That's the growth mindset. That's the mindset that we know it's a possibility and that our kids will get there at some point. But if they're not eating these foods yet, then hey, Candace is here, and Sarah, so glad to see you guys, and Fiona. Oh, some of my friends and colleagues. Candace actually was our nutrition consultant here at Whole Family Wellness for years and years and years and years, and a dear friend. And I'm very sad that she is in Austin now, but Austin's a great place to visit. So Candace, I'll be visiting soon. So anyhow, take a moment to look at these top vitamin C rich foods, write down the ones your kids are already eating, and then write down maybe 1 or 2 or 3 that you think your child might be interested in trying, and start incorporating those into your child's diet. Again, with these immune boosting foods, what we really want to think about is, how can I take steps every day to try to incorporate some of these foods more mindfully, that are really going to boost their immune system after exposures or during the cold and flu season. Okay, so now we'll move on to vitamin A rich foods. Your vitamin A rich foods are going to be all those foods that are the beautiful orange-red color, right? Some green ones here too, like kale and spinach and broccoli. So take a look at this and see which foods, and you're going to see some overlap, right? There are some vitamin C rich foods that are also really great vitamin A rich foods. But again, use your list, write down some foods that your child may already be eating, but if they're not yet eating some vitamin A rich foods, then write down maybe 1 or 2 that you and your partner or your daycare provider or your nanny can focus on. Sometimes for our very, very picky eaters, it can take 40, 50 times of holding a food, smelling a food, licking a food, holding a little bit in their mouth, and then finally maybe chewing and swallowing a little bite to actually like the food and eat the food. So don't give up. Right? Don't give up one time and say, oh, they don't like it, I'm not going to try it again. Persistence is key, and with persistence, you'll get there. Okay, so some of the questions I have here are, let's see. What kind of berries? Okay, Janelle asked what kind of berries. Well, really any berry. I mean, berries are so great. I know all those berries are great in antioxidants. What I love about berries, we're going to talk about sugar in a little bit, but berries are have a very low glycemic index, so they're not going to spike your child's blood sugar. So they're a great, great antioxidant-rich way to boost your child's immune system. Okay, so on to vitamin E rich foods. So vitamin E rich foods are going to be a lot of your nuts and seeds and your healthy fats. So really focusing on, if your child's not nut or seed allergic, getting in a variety of nuts and seeds and nut butters and trail mixes. Healthy fats like avocados, getting in those dark green leafy vegetables and legumes, lentils, beans of all sorts are really high in vitamin E. So again, take your workbook, write down some of the foods that your kids are already eating, because you want to keep that up, right? You want to keep going with those. And if they're not yet eating any of these, then write maybe 1 or 2 or 3 that you can start working on. Now, if you're looking at these lists and saying, well, my kids don't eat any of this, they're eating 3 foods right now or four foods right now, then just pick one to start. Okay, just pick one food and have that be a focus for you, your partner, grandparents, nannies, I mean, whoever is caring for your child and cooking for your child, so that you can focus on one thing at a time. All right, zinc. I love zinc. Now, zinc, most kids and probably most adults are either insufficient or deficient in zinc. Now, what are the tip-offs that your kids might not have enough zinc? And I've written about this before. If you're interested in a post or a class on zinc deficiency and what we can do about it, let me know in the comments, right? Let me know, give me a thumbs up or a heart. But some of the signs of zinc deficiency or insufficiency are pickiness, poor appetite, sensory issues, especially auditory sensitivities where sounds are too loud. Kids can't go into public bathrooms. You can't run the blender or the vacuum cleaner. They need to be out of the house or in the other room. Other tactile sensitivities like tags on the shirt that bug them. They can't get their shoes tight enough. They won't wear anything but super soft, sweatpants. Weak immune system if your kids are getting sick, really easily over and over again. Eczema or skin lesions that don't heal quickly, leaky gut, food sensitivities. These are all signs that your child actually needs more zinc. So focusing on zinc-rich foods. Sometimes you may need to supplement with zinc. But Heidi asks, is that same for adults with those symptoms? Absolutely. I go through phases where I have to say the tag on this shirt right now is bugging me a little bit. And I go through phases where the tag bugs me and the tag doesn't bug me. And so I know when I actually sit down and pay attention to when I have the tags bug me, I realize, okay, it's actually those periods where maybe the week before I wasn't eating as healthily as I normally do, right? So what are the top zinc-rich foods? Pumpkin seeds are so great in zinc. Now, I got a tip from my mom. I love, love, love hearing tips from moms. So if you guys have tips to get in some of these foods into your diet or into your kids' diets, let me know. But I had a mom who literally would take her food processor. You can take a coffee grinder, grind those pumpkin seeds into pumpkin flour, and she just would throw them into her smoothies, throw them into her pancake mix, throw them into, her waffle mix, anything she was baking, throw them into her meatloaf, right? Throw them into wherever she could. And that alone brought up her kids' low zinc levels dramatically. Beans are high in zinc. We get zinc from a lot of our animal proteins. Liver is an amazing source of zinc. So really focusing on zinc for your kids to support their immune system, but also especially if they have those sensory issues. Hey, Vivian, it's good to see you. Vivian lives over in the East Bay. She is an allergist from the UK who is now a nutrition coach and awesome. She lives just over in the East Bay. Okay, so let's see. What zinc supplement would I recommend? Zinc is, I will say zinc is a hard mineral to take as a supplement, because if your kids can't swallow capsules, it unfortunately doesn't taste very good. However, there's a zinc liquid by Pure Encapsulations. That's pretty good. It actually tastes pretty good. Zinc capsules tend to be really small though, so it is a supplement that could be a starter supplement for your kids to learn how to swallow. All right, so take your workbook again, look at this list of zinc-rich foods and see what foods could my kid eat more of, which foods might I want to try incorporating. Take the pumpkin seed, flour idea and use that, right? So grind those seeds. Yes, Lauren, grind those seeds. You can grind any seed, right? You could do, or not. I mean, you can make any of those into more powder. I mean, when I make smoothies, I just throw in whatever nuts and seeds we happen to have in the cupboard. But in the Vitamix, they just blend right up. But you can easily have powdered, nuts, seeds, whatever you have, and use that in whatever you're cooking. All right, we can't forget about bone broth. So bone broth is one of the most healing foods. And we're talking about food as medicine and what foods are going to support your immune system as much as possible. We need to think about bone broth. So with bone broth, So many benefits. And if you go onto the Healthy Kids Happy Kids blog site, I'm actually going to show you, this is a blog that Candace, who's here with us today, wrote on bone broth and some of the amazing benefits. So what are some of the amazing benefits? Not only is it delicious and easy to digest, it's super healing. And studies have shown that it actually can thin nasal secretions. So if you have a goopy, runny nose or just really super congested, or your child is, you can have them drink some bone broth, and it can inhibit some of the inflammatory cells that contribute to those symptoms that we feel when we have a cold. Really rich in minerals, amino acids like glutamine to support the gut lining, reduce inflammation, and really, really great for, just bolstering and boosting and supporting the immune system. So I have an action item for you. This is not something to write down, but a link on your workbook that's right here on Candace's guide to making bone broth. If you guys have made bone broth, then let me know. Give me a thumbs up, give me a heart. Bone broth is super easy to make. When I first thought about making bone broth, I thought, oh my gosh, there's no way. I'm not going to be able to make bone broth. But it's super easy. I promise you, you won't regret it. You can use any bones. You can use beef, chicken, pork bones. You can use fish bones. You can use shrimp shells. You can use all the leftover vegetables, the discards of your vegetables that you have after making making a stir fry. And be creative with how you use bone broth. I love bone broth. Just drinking as a tea. I mean, in the wintertime, literally I have bone broth in my fridge at work, and I heat it up and I drink it, throughout the day. Use it as a soup base, use it to cook your rice or pasta in, use it to stir fry your vegetables in. So be creative with it. Now, if you feel like maybe I don't have the 12 hours to simmer my bone broth this weekend, that's fine. It's actually very, very, very easy to find bone broth now, organic bone broth, even at Costco, which is where I've gotten some. Okay. Oh no, Jill wrote, don't click the link. Okay, don't click the link on the PDF, just type it into your browser. I'm hoping that didn't happen to anyone else. I'm so sorry. I'll see what happened with that, make sure that doesn't happen with the next workbook. But Jill said it erased the type in her workbook. So, oh, and yeah, Laura wrote that she cooks it in a pressure cooker, so that's great. In a pressure cooker, the only thing is when you look at the recipe for the bone broth, there's a part where it's called skimming the scum. It sounds a little funny, but you skim that kind of frothy brown stuff on the bone broth. You don't have to skim it, but in a pressure cooker, it's harder to skim it. I think it just tastes a little better if you do skim it. Okay. All right. We can't leave a discussion on healing foods and food as medicine without talking about fermented foods. Fermented foods are really probiotics with a punch. Probiotics are incredibly supportive for the gut and for the immune system and for the brain. And you can get it through food. Sometimes you'll need supplementation, but you want to think about ways to get probiotics into your kid and into yourself through food if possible, because that is going to pack so much more punch than any probiotic supplement that you can take. So absolutely, think about making fermented foods yourself. It's not too hard to make yogurt, or buy some delicious yogurt. Now, these are a list of some of the fermented foods. Now, some of your kids may not be eating a lot of fermented foods yet. Remember, yet, because it can happen. Fermented foods are definitely an acquired taste, many of them. So, so just keep trying. But I tell you, that spoonful of sauerkraut, or the forkful of sauerkraut, or the spoonful of kraut juice is going to go a lot further than your probiotics that you take. Now, yogurt, a cow's milk yogurt, even goat and sheep milk yogurt, you want to just be cautious, because in the wintertime, it definitely can cause a little bit more phlegm and mucus production. And many, many kids, especially with chronic health concerns, are sensitive or even allergic to cow's milk or goat or sheep milk. So use other options: fermented, cultured almond, coconut, cashew yogurt. But there's lots of different ways to enjoy your fermented foods. And I have a picture of kimchi here, because kimchi, not just because I'm Korean and I love kimchi, but kimchi was found in studies to actually kill the H1N1 flu virus. And remember, years ago, you guys probably remember, there was a huge H1N1 epidemic scare. It never got to epidemic proportions. We end up not needing to be as scared as we should have been, as we were, right? We shouldn't have been. But it does kill the flu. So these fermented foods, if you can get those fermented foods in, it will absolutely support your child's immune system. And there's so many different options. Kefir, you can have dairy kefir, coconut, or even water kefir. Kombucha, my kids love kombucha. You can get kombucha that is, you can make your own kombucha, but you just want to watch out for the sugar content. Read the labels. I was shocked to find when I was looking through our kind of big glass case in our grocery store of kombucha that one of the kombuchas had, 30 grams of sugar in it, which is, it's like having a soda, right? So just watch the sugar content. Okay, sickeningly sweet sugar. This sugar, we talked about healing foods to boost your immune system. We also need to talk about what foods are going to be the most harmful for your immune system, and sugar is one of them. There was a question that I went by gosh, I forget who asked the question, but it was about gluten and dairy. And I will say gluten and dairy are two of the most highly inflammatory foods for most people. So I prefer to be gluten light for most kids and adults. And for some, I will recommend total elimination. I know I feel so much better off of gluten and just with a tiny little bit of dairy. But when we're thinking about immune system, I really want to make sure that we focus on during the winter months, reducing sugar, because it's just from Halloween to Christmas, it's basically a sugar and treat fest, right? Let's face it, Halloween, they get their bags full of just kind of gross candy, right? There are healthier alternatives, but hopefully you guys have heard of the Switch Witch and can switch out your kids' candy for an equally attractive non-candy prize. But there's Halloween and then Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and often those are just laden with sweets. So think about the impact of sweets that it's having on your child's immune system. And you want to talk to family members, because when you're going to visit someone over the holidays, especially grandparents, I love my parents to death, and they are so helpful with the kids. However, ice cream and cookies are a nightly event with them. So just talking to them about it, we know that you love them and you want to show them your love, but you can show them your love without food. So what is the real problem with sugar, right? Knowledge is power. So studies have shown that within 30 minutes of eating simple sugars, your immune system's ability to fight and kill germs is reduced by 50%. Within 30 minutes. And then this effect is most noticeable 2 hours after eating that sugary food, but still present for 5 hours later. So, do you wonder now why when you go to a birthday party that has the cake and the cupcakes and the Skittles and, maybe the Jolly Ranchers or whatever other candy, and maybe someone's coughing or sniffling or sneezing and everyone's hands are in the candy bowl at the same time, that a day or two later, your kid wakes up with a fever and is sick, right? Keeping blood sugar levels balanced has also been shown to improve immune system activity and also brain and cognitive activity. So we're going to be discussing sugar a lot more in our third masterclass happening in 2 weeks on how to improve your child's focus naturally. So, but the takeaway is keep those sugars down, okay? So here I want you to write down in your workbook, what's the biggest problem with sugar? Because you're going to get asked this question. What's the big deal if they have that piece of candy? What's the big deal if they have this cookie? Why deprive them of having sugar? Well, you're not depriving them, right? You're actually supporting their immune health, and you want your whole family to really kind of shift that mindset in that same way. I'm not saying don't ever give treats. Well, first of all, I actually don't like calling sugary things treats, but I'm not saying don't ever give them cakes or cookies, but there are healthier options. There are lower sugar options, and certainly avoid the ones with artificial dyes and preservatives. And we're going to talk more about why that's so important, especially if your kids are having behavioral and attention issues. All right, so we talked about foods and common sense measures to boost your child's immune system. Now we're going to talk about top immune boosting supplements. So these are the supplements that I give to my kids, or the supplements that I recommend in my practice. They're also the supplements that I teach about, teach parents how to use. So, with these supplements, these are a list of some of your options. You don't have to give them all. You don't even have to give any of them. But this is depending on what's going on with your kids. These are just ones to consider. So what's my number one top immune boosting supplement? And you have a space to write down immune boosting supplements on your workbook. Vitamin D. Vitamin D3 is probably the supplement, well, it's not probably, it is the supplement that I am the most consistent with for my children and for myself and for my husband. Why? Because vitamin D3 has such incredible immune boosting properties, such incredible neurologic and brain supporting properties. It has so many hormone supporting properties. And, supplementation, though, typically is needed, unfortunately. The best source is sunlight, but, here in the Northern Hemisphere, in the any season but the summer, the sun's rays just aren't strong enough to really get that conversion through our skin. And of course, most kids are going to be lathered up in sunscreen or wearing their sun shirts, so blocking the sun's rays as well. And also just our immune needs are a little bit higher. So but if you're going to be getting vitamin D through food, here are some of the food sources. Cod liver oil, eggs. I love eggs if your child isn't sensitive or allergic to them. But like I mentioned, most kids actually do need some supplementation. Yes, Fiona wrote, there's really not much good about sugar. That's true. The Vitamin D Council recommends a maintenance dosage of about 1,000 IUs per 25 pounds of vitamin D3. Now, what's a maintenance dose? A maintenance dose is the dose that you would take to maintain the level that you're at. So the key, though, is to get to an optimal level. So to get to an optimal level, you may need to give more than that maintenance dose and then get onto the maintenance dose. So an optimal level, we're only going to know if you measure. It's a blood test, unfortunately, but it is one of the most important blood tests that I feel kids can and adults can take. And so who here knows their vitamin D levels, by the way? All right, give me a thumbs up or a heart if you actually know your vitamin D levels. The vast majority of kids and adults, even in the middle of the summer, even if they've been out all day, playing sports and in camps all day, they are low or insufficient. So we want vitamin D levels to be 60 to 80. So if you are one of those people whose vitamin D levels are 60 to 80, give yourself a huge pat on the back and give me a heart, because I love hearing that, but most kids aren't. So when you check your levels, just ask your doctor what the level is and make sure that it's about 60 to 80, okay? All right, next top immune boosting supplement, fish oil. Those omega-3 essential fatty acids, so important for supporting the immune system, reducing inflammation, supporting our brain and cognitive function. We are going to be talking a lot more about fish oils in our Part 3 Masterclass on improving your child's attention and focus. And of course, essential fatty acids, fish oils support mood and healthy skin and hair. So when you're choosing a fish oil, this is really, really important. Quality matters. Okay, don't just get some random one at Costco or some random one on Amazon. Make sure that you use a brand that's pure and checks for impurities like heavy metals and other chemicals that are toxic. Some of the reputable brands that I'll use are Nordic Naturals, Metagenics, Designs for Health, or Bioceuticals. And the fish oils nowadays, they come in swirls and pretty tasty chewables. They're very different than the cod liver oil, the unflavored cod liver oil that many of us remember from childhood. The dosage is going to vary widely depending on what's going on with your kid. But for instance, an average dose of cod liver oil would be maybe about half a teaspoon per 25 pounds of body weight. Okay, so just know that the dosage is going to vary, though. If your kid has immune system issues, has eczema or asthma, has ADHD, has autoimmune illnesses, we may be going much higher on that. Oops. All right, third top immune boosting supplement. Remember, keep track of these. Probiotics. Probiotics, I talked about fermented foods, but many times we need to supplement with probiotics, right? Those are all those trillions and trillions and trillions of awesome good bugs that support our immune system, support our digestive tract, support our brain with the gut-brain connection and the gut-immune system connection. You want to make sure that you use reputable brands, and here are some of the brands that I recommend and use for my own kids and use in my practice. Also know that when your kid is over 2, they can take the very same probiotic as older kids and adults. So you want to make sure that, if you have a kid under 2, you can use an infant probiotic. But if all your kids are over 2, the whole family can get the same probiotic. The dosage is going to vary. I have here a guide that you can print this. It's a guide to choosing your kids' probiotics. If you guys don't have that already, feel absolutely free to download that. It's just like a one-page infographic on what to consider when you choose a probiotic. But you want to think many different strains, not just one strain, but lots of different lactobacillus and lots of different bifidobacteria strains, and think of billions of colony-forming units. Billions, not millions. you know, so for instance, there's a really popular kind of tasty chewable kids probiotic out there that only has 1 million colonies in it. That's just not enough. Okay. I do want to point out a very specific probiotic in terms of boosting your immune system and getting through the cold and flu season. There are 2 particular strains that have been shown to boost the immune system and reduce the rates of fever and cold when taken daily throughout the cold and flu season. It's found in some other supplements too, but it's the one that I use is the Metagenics one. They have a Ultra Flora Children's chewable probiotic. It's a great flavor. It tastes delicious. My kids love it. It's called Meta Kids probiotic now, but it also comes in a capsule form and a powder form for infants. The dosage is the same regardless of whether you're a kid or an adult. The chewable, they'll take 1 chew twice a day. I often will take the kids' chewables because it tastes good, and sometimes I don't feel like swallowing another pill. But you could also do 1 capsule twice a day or a 1/4 teaspoon twice a day. So use it during the cold and flu seasons, but I have a note on the bottom here to also use your broad spectrum general probiotic. By broad spectrum, what do I mean? Lots of different strains, because this probiotic only has 2 strains. You want all the different strains because each strain has a different benefit for our body and for our brain. Okay. Jessica asked, does it matter what time of day to give the probiotics? You know, I just would rather get it in. I don't think it really matters too much. I've seen kids take it with meals or away from meals, and I've looked at their stool analyses when I'm doing that, and you know, it seems like they have benefit regardless. Okay, another immune boosting supplement, and as I mentioned, you don't have to do these all, but these are considerations, especially if your kids are already getting sick and they're getting sick, you know, illness after illness. But this is another one of my favorite supplements. It's called Immumax. It's a combination of echinacea, propolis, and vitamin C. There's a really good study looking at this over the 12-week winter period. Giving it to kids found fewer colds, fewer missed days of school, you know, for being sick, shorter duration of illness, fewer unscheduled, unplanned visits to the doctor for sick visits, and lower nighttime cough. Okay, so another really good supplement. And finally, arabinogalactan. So arabinogalactan it comes in tablet or pill form too. I use the powder form because it's really easy to dissolve into a smoothie or into some water or drink. But it's a sugar derived from the bark of the large tree that enhances something called natural killer cell activity, which has natural killer cells are our first line of defense against infection. So any infection, and also has some great immune boosting properties as well. Arabinogalactan also acts as a prebiotic, right? Prebiotics feed our probiotics. So a question was asked about what about prebiotics? Yes, prebiotics are often included in probiotics to help those prebiotics grow in your gut. Okay. Okay, so Gina wrote, could I give these plus something broad, such as Culturelle? So look at Culturelle. You'll notice, Gina, that Culturelle is just 1 strain. It's got Lactobacillus rhamnosus, which is an amazing strain. It's an amazing probiotic shown to reduce the risk of eczema and asthma in children, especially when moms are pregnant or nursing. Can actually help reduce ADD symptoms, especially when given young. So it's a great probiotic, but I would definitely give something that has more strains than just that, okay? And then the final immune boosting supplement is homeopathic oscillococcinum. So let me know here if you have used homeopathic medicines, if you're familiar with them, if you want to learn more about using homeopathic medicines, give me a thumbs up or give me a heart, because I love homeopathic medicines. It's one of my preferred choices when kids are sick. But you can use oscillococcinum preventatively as well. So how do I use it preventatively? The dosage is the same regardless of whether you're a kid or adult. You'll see it comes in little vials, and in these little vials there's tiny little sprinkles that are these, you know, little sugar sprinkles that everyone loves, and it's 1 whole vial. Just tip back into your mouth. If it's a child, you know, who doesn't like the pellets, or a baby, you can dissolve the pellets in a little water. And during the cold and flu season, you can give it once a week, or give it after exposures, like birthday parties or going on a plane ride, or, you know, if you know that your child has had a play date and, you know, her friend's mom calls you and says, oh my gosh, they came down with, you know, a sore throat tonight. All right, so we went through, how to support and boost your child's immune system, and now we're going to, and I thank you guys for sticking with me. I know this is a long time, but again, I want to make sure this masterclass gave you all the information that you need. So now we're going to go through, kind of switch gears a little bit. For some of you guys have mentioned that your kids have already gotten sick, or maybe they're on the verge, or maybe a bunch of kids are sick in the class. I've had kids who were out sick the first day of school. So it happens, hopefully, knock on wood, with some of the immune supports you're starting after today. Your kids will get sick less often. So I want you to go through to your workbook, and we're going to start talking about some of the mistakes that parents make when their kids have a fever and what you can do instead. Okay, so the number one myth when kids have a fever is that fever is dangerous, right? That is the number one myth. I want you to write this down, right? Because fever phobia is rampant among parents, grandparents, nannies, practitioners, right? Most nurses and doctors have fever phobia, whether we like it or not. And fever is not something to be afraid of. So we're going to dispel that myth, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so write that down, because this is something, when your child is sick with a fever and you're trying to have some alternatives besides the Tylenol or the Motrin, and let your partner know in the middle of the night it's okay to let their fever run. You want to have some evidence behind it. Okay, so let's go through and I'll give that to you. So again, number one myth: fever is dangerous, right? So you don't want to panic when your kid has a fever. We're going to go through the top 5 mistakes. So these are the top 5 mistakes. You can write these down, and we're going to go through each mistake and what you can do instead. Mistake number 1 is going to the doctor too soon. So I'm hopefully going to save you some unnecessary doctor's trips here. I always say, if I could go out of business one day because kids didn't need me, I would love that. Then I would know that I had done a good job in my life. Trying to not go to the doctor too soon. Mistake number 2, having fever phobia. Mistake number 3, worrying that they're not acting like themselves. Mistake number 4, worrying that they're not eating enough. And mistake number 5, not having that natural medicines toolkit. All right. So Joy and Lucy, what about fever for kids with febrile seizures? Well, it's interesting because there haven't been any studies that have actually shown that giving Tylenol and Motrin around the clock when your kids have a fever really does prevent febrile seizures. It's something that doctors, I used to recommend that routinely, and it's something that doctors will recommend and parents will do because you're nervous, of course, when your child has a seizure with a fever, right? A febrile seizure. You don't ever want that to happen again. But I'll tell you, if we start these homeopathic medicines or some of the herbal treatments, they work great. So you have to have your own comfort level with what you for when your child has a fever. But I promise you, there's so many ways to support your child, even with febrile seizures. And Stephanie writes, I talk to my patients at the pharmacy about fever myth, and they think I'm a crazy pharmacist to not treat fever right away. Well, you can let them know that you are a smart pharmacist and that it's going to help their kids get better faster. So I'll tell you why, right? So mistake number 1, going to the doctor too soon. Though that is probably the biggest mistake that a lot of parents make. Going to urgent care too soon, going to the ER too soon, going to the doctor's office too soon for a sick visit. So what can you do instead, right? Write that down. Going to the doctor too soon here, and then under what you can do instead, write down some of the times when you should call the doctor. Know when to call the doctor, know when to see the doctor, because of course there is a time when you should see the doctor. First and foremost, trust your mama or papa gut, right? Trust your gut instinct. If you're looking at your child and you're just worried, they don't look right, something's not right, just go take them in, right? I'd rather that you had your child seen and had peace of mind that something serious isn't going on than to not have your kid seen. Okay, so Rebecca writes, what's in the natural medicines toolkit? We're going to get to that. Okay, I'm going to show you exactly what's in there. These are some of the guidelines. I'm not going to read through this because this is going to be up for replay, but some of the things that I do want to point out, probably the biggest reason that I want kids to be seen, if they're really young, under 3 months of age, if they've had a fever for more than about 4 or 5 days, because while viral illnesses can have fevers that last that long, I just would rather check it out. Of course, if your child has had a febrile seizure, go get evaluated, right? But sometimes if your kid has had, several simple febrile seizures, they don't necessarily have to be seen, but I still would rather that you check in with your doctor. Dehydration, absolutely check in if you think that your child is dehydrated. That's the number one thing that we want to support, is preventing your kids from getting dehydrated when they're sick. The best indicator is not whether they're crying with tears, it's not whether their lips are chapped, it's not whether their skin is dry, it's their urine output. So watch how often they're peeing. We want them to make some pee, even if it's not as much as they usually do, but at least once every 6 to 8 hours, okay? And also, I want to point out specifically what the words lethargic and what the words inconsolable means, because they're the two most mistakenly used or wrongly used words in our kind of vocabulary as parents and as physicians. True lethargy. When you call a doctor, if you call me and say your child is truly lethargic, that means that you can't wake them up. Really hard to wake them up no matter how you try, and that they're unusually sleepy, really, really difficult to get any response out of. That's true lethargy. Being lethargic doesn't mean that your child is tired and just wants to be a couch potato all day. That's actually good. That's tired, that's listening to their body, that's resting, right? Inconsolable means that you really, really can't calm them down, right? That they're crying, and when you pick them up, when you rock them, take them for a walk, try to nurse them, nothing's calming them down. That's truly inconsolable. If they're really fussy, but they can calm when you hold them or rock them or when you rub their back, then that's not inconsolable, okay? All right, mistake number 2 is having fever phobia. I talked about that, so don't panic, right? What can you do instead? How can we calm the fears? Well, we want to know the facts, right? So why is fever actually beneficial? So fever is beneficial because it's our body's natural response to fighting infections, and fever has been shown in studies to slow down the microbes, right? Slow down the germs and increase our immune system's capacity to fight those infections and kill those germs. So fever is going to actually help your child get better faster and more efficiently and effectively. Fact number 2 is that in a neurologically normal child, fever cannot go high enough to cause brain damage. So if your child does not have a neurologic disorder, then don't worry about the fever going too high. We want to know that kids tend to run hot. Kids, my daughter, especially when she was younger, would easily get up to 104, but she'd be talking to me, she'd be looking at me, she'd be drinking. I would never have known her fever was that high if I hadn't taken her temperature. So that gets to fact number 3. The height of the fever does not indicate how serious the infection is. You want to look at your child. You want to make sure that no matter how high or low your child's temperature is, that they're responding, that they can answer your questions appropriately, that they're making good eye contact. So I don't care if your child has a fever of 100 or 100.2, if they're laying on the couch, not able to answer your questions, acting confused, crying and incredibly irritable, I take that much more seriously than a kid who's at 103 or 104 and is playing calmly, reading a book, wanting to eat their dinner. All right, so the problem with suppressing fever. So this is really one of the biggest reasons, biggest things to know and biggest things to share with anyone who's caring for your child when they're sick. So again, on the workbook, here's a list that you can write down. What are the 3 problems with using fever suppressors, with suppressing fevers? Because you want to have this, when your mom is saying, just bring that fever down. It's not good for your child, or your partner is telling you that. Well, the first problem with fevers is that reducing fevers artificially with acetaminophen, which is Tylenol, or ibuprofen, which is Motrin or Advil, has been shown in studies to prolong the duration of illness, which means that you're temporarily helping them to feel better, but you're actually keeping them sicker longer potentially. The second problem with fever reducers is that fever reducers, all they do is reduce fevers, right? That's all they do. They don't help fight the infection that's causing the fever. They don't strengthen your kids' immune systems. They do help them feel better, right? They do help them sometimes even act normal. And we don't necessarily want them acting normal. We don't want them running around the backyard and jumping on the trampoline. We want them to be couch potatoes. We want them to slow down just as much as the fever slows the germs down. It slows your kids down so that their immune systems can focus on fighting the infection. And they also, this is a third problem, that acetaminophen in particular is particularly problematic because it stresses the liver and reduces levels of glutathione. Glutathione is one of our most important antioxidants, and glutathione also helps kill infections and fight infections and help us with the recovery process. So a bunch of different reasons why fever suppressors are problems. Now, is there ever a time when you might want to consider a fever reducer? Absolutely. I have ibuprofen in my cupboard. My preference is to use ibuprofen instead of acetaminophen because ibuprofen doesn't deplete glutathione, as we just mentioned, acetaminophen does, and also has anti-inflammatory properties. In fact, I don't even have acetaminophen in my medicine cabinet. I just have some children's ibuprofen. But there is a time and a place for fever reducers. So I would consider using fever reducers, ibuprofen, if your child is so uncomfortable that they can't fall asleep or can't stay asleep, because a good night's rest will trump everything. Remember, going back to our common sense measure, getting enough sleep. Sleep is truly healing. I'll also give fever reducers if they're so uncomfortable that they don't want to drink anything, because hydration is key to recovery. And also knowing that dehydration itself can worsen the fever. So I want your kids to drink. I want them to flush out, all those toxins that are accumulating, and I want them to feel better faster. Okay? Jenny wrote, I've tried all sorts of natural remedies, so I've never been able to treat an ear infection naturally. I don't know if you've read my blog post on treating ear infections naturally, but those are some tips that I will use: homeopathic medicines, herbal medicines, supplements to help with ear infections. But, someone wrote that with fevers, with ear infections, can you treat them naturally? Yes, absolutely. I just saw a question. Oh yes, Kirsty, paracetamol is acetaminophen. So in other countries, Tylenol, acetaminophen is called paracetamol. So that is acetaminophen. Okay, and then another mom wrote, and I can't actually see, I can't find it now, but wrote that when their kids have fevers, they get hallucinations. So we're going to actually, there's a homeopathic medicine that is perfect for that. All right, mistake number 3, worrying that your child isn't acting themselves. So again, I don't want your kids acting themselves. I don't want them to be lethargic and not responsive, but I want them to be tired, slow down, read books, let them watch a movie, let them be couch potatoes, but you need to prioritize rest and sleep for healing, right? And ideally keep them home from school until they're pretty much 100%. I know it's tough, as working parents and, busy schedules, it can be really tough to have your kids stay home for any longer than they need to, but if you really let them heal and recover as fully as possible, that's the fastest way to get them back to school and keep them in school instead of sending them back to school too early to just stress their immune system out again and then be out again sick the next week, okay? Mistake number 4, worrying that your child isn't eating enough. Now remember, you can write these down, but this is a very, very common mistake. Don't worry if your kid's eating. In fact, I don't care if your kids don't eat really anything, when they're sick, or eat minimal. I know if your kids are already, too thin or having trouble eating and really picky, it can be a worry, but focus on hydration. What you can do instead is keep them hydrated. Hydration is key for recovery. And again, dehydration makes the fever worse. So the best hydration options are the ones that are going to have minerals and electrolytes. So focus on coconut water, homemade electrolyte drinks. There are many homemade electrolyte drinks recipes online that you can use, herbal teas, and bone broth, right? Drinking lots and lots of bone broth. Now, herbal teas, I love herbal teas. They have a lot of therapeutic qualities. They can also help reduce fevers. Chamomile tea has anti-inflammatory and calming benefits. You can use your herbal teas creatively. You can make your herbal teas into Jell-O. Use a grass-fed gelatin. You can make them into popsicles. You can use tea in a smoothie. So there's lots of different ways to creatively get herbal teas into your child. The last mistake, not having a natural medicines toolkit. So why would we use natural medicines? Because they don't artificially suppress the fever. We don't want to suppress the fever. Natural medicines, though, help your immune system do what it's trying to do, but just more efficiently and effectively. So your child can get better faster using their own natural defenses. They actually do help your child to feel better and provide symptom relief, though, right? Because when your kids are sick and you're waiting for these natural medicines to work, you also want them to feel better, and natural medicines can absolutely do that. And not only that, they can help strengthen your child's immune system for the next round. So what are the specific natural medicines that I teach parents how to use? Homeopathic medicines, herbal medicines, acupressure, points, and essential oils. So I am going to do that right now. Homeopathic medicines for fever are so incredible. If you follow me, you know how much I love homeopathic medicines. They are one of my preferred choices for infants and children because they're so safe, yet they're so effective, and they have an evidence base to them. So oscillococcinum is the first homeopathic medicine that I would use for the sort of any fever or flu or illness. This is just across the board. Get the oscillococcinum. It comes in packs of 6. We don't travel anywhere without our oscillococcinum. I don't go to any conference. I don't go on any vacation. I don't go for a weekend trip away, with without oscillococcinum. So when you start to feel sick, or your kids start to have a little bit of fever, or even just a glassy-eyed look, and something's going around in their classroom, you want to give them 1 vial and do that 3 times over a 24-hour period. The dosage is the same whether you're a kid or an adult. 1 whole vial. You open up the vial, pour the whole contents into their mouth. Super easy to give. There are studies that have shown that oscillococcinum, when given at the start of a fever or flu-like illness, can improve symptoms within 48 hours and significantly reduce the duration of illness compared with conventional treatment or placebo. Oscillococcinum is definitely best if you start it immediately at the start of symptoms. All right, now, what about albuterol? Can it be used in babies? Absolutely, you can use it in babies, and it's safe to take during pregnancy. Kathy wrote, yes. Kathy is an amazing mama who's part of our Thriving Child community and the Healthy Kids, Happy Kids community, and a wealth of information. But homeopathic medicines, the reason why they're my preferred choice of medicine is because they are so safe, and they can be used in infants, and can be used, I used them when I was pregnant and nursing because I knew that they were so safe for myself and for my babies. For babies, what you can do is just dump the pellets into a little bit of water, and then just take the back of a spoon and tap them lightly. Just agitate them a little bit, and they'll dissolve really quickly. And then you can either give it by spoonful or just have them drink it straight out of the water. So yes, you can put it right into their drink. So how do you choose other homeopathic medicines, though? Because oscillococcinum is just kind of a general start with the fever or flu, you give the oslo, right? But there are 3 homeopathic medicines that are top 3 homeopathic medicines to use when your kids have a fever. There are many, many others. Homeopathic medicines really do work best if you can individualize the medicine to how your child is experiencing that fever, right? Because in conventional pediatrics, if your child has a fever, you either give Motrin or you give Tylenol, right? It doesn't matter if your kid is sweaty. It doesn't matter if they're thirsty. It doesn't matter what time of day it happens. It doesn't matter, what their mood is like when it happens. But with homeopathic medicines, all of that matters, right? In general, you're going to use, you'll see on the tubes different numbers. In general, you're going to look for the number 9C or 30C, and the dosage, again, is going to be the same regardless of age. You're going to use 3 pellets, and you're going to give 3 pellets maybe every 3 to 4 hours initially, and you space it out as your kid gets better. All right, so write down here, what are the top 3 homeopathic medicines for fever? And you'll see what I mean by individualizing, right? The first homeopathic medicine is ferrum phosphoricum. Oh, Chris has a very good question. So Chris says, can you give your kids oscillococcinum and then also give Motrin? So it's not an either or. That's why I call this really an integrative approach. I don't ever say it's just natural medicines or just conventional medicines. The beauty with natural medicines, especially homeopathic medicines, there's not going to be any interaction with any medication your kids are on, even if they're on other medications for chronic health concerns, whether it's autoimmune illness or ADD or whatever it is. So the homeopathic medicines, absolutely, you can use in conjunction. Some of the herbal medicines, again, you want to check with your practitioner, check with your functional medicine practitioner, or check with your doctor or your integrative practitioner to make sure that the herbs don't have interactions with whatever other medications you're on. But I have no concerns about the homeopathics. Okay, so some of you guys are asking about the slides. These are going to be available on replay. You can watch these on replay on Facebook immediately after. It's going to be posted up, and I'm going to put it on YouTube as well. Okay, so when we think about individualizing the homeopathic medicine, so ferrum phosphoricum, what is that good for? That's good for a low-grade fever that, or maybe even a moderate fever that starts very gradually. Just starts low and kind of just simmers along. So that's kind of a very non-specific general low-grade fever. Aconitum napellus, on the other hand, is given when your child has that sudden fever, usually in the middle of the night, especially if maybe they've been out, you know, in cold, dry weather in the wind, and their face is typically really red and flushed and dry, and they may be really agitated and anxious. Belladonna, someone had mentioned that their kid gets hallucinations when their kids have fever, which can be really frightening, but it's actually common, you know, for kids maybe to see, like, you know, bugs crawling on their arms or other hallucinations. So belladonna is good for sudden onset of high fever, but unlike aconitum napellus, the face will be bright and red, but also sweaty, and they're going to look like that, you know, deer in the headlights, pupils wide and dilated, and they may be delirious. So Elvita asked, do I need to work with the homeopath to get this, or can I find them and buy them on my own? These are so readily available at Whole Foods, most health food stores. You can even buy them on Amazon. I do recommend only using reputable manufacturers, as always. I mean, the supplements and the manufacturers that I recommend, I've done a lot of research on to make sure that you guys are only getting the best quality and trusted brands that are free of impurities. I do have some cautions about buying on Amazon with herbs and with supplements, because there have been cases of tampering with the products and wrong products being sent or expired products being sent. But the homeopathic medicines should be easy to find. And it's going to look like this, right? You're going to see on the slide the ferrum phosphoricum. It's a little blue tube, and in the blue tube are these little white pellets, right, that taste really good. So you give 3 pellets. And yes, Melissa, CVS carries them also. They don't carry a huge array of them, but they do carry them. And oscillococcinum, I mean, oscillococcinum is available, I mean, almost anywhere. I even see it at Safeway. Okay, so herbal medicines. Now, herbal medicines you can also use when your kids have a fever, and herbal medicines are natural medicines. I mean, they're basically natural pharmaceuticals, I guess you would call them, natural drugs, I guess you would say. So there may be some herb-drug interactions. So again, if your kids are on medication, just check it out, you know, with your practitioner. But these are some of my favorites. Again, you don't have to use all of them, but these are some options to have in your toolkit. So elderberry syrup, love elderberry syrup. You can make your own elderberry syrup. I am not, to be totally honest, a DIY kind of a mama, no matter how much I wish I were. But elderberry syrup is great. It fights flu. It actually kills flu bugs. It was found to also kill H1N1 in vitro. It kills other germs, shortens the duration of illnesses and fevers, boosts the immune system. It's a great antioxidant. It also tastes delicious. Windbreaker is one of my favorite. I don't go anywhere without my Windbreaker. It's by Kan Herb, K-A-N Herb, which is an herbal company, a Chinese herbal company in Scotts Valley, which is just down the corner near Santa Cruz by me. Super high quality Chinese herbs. So Windbreaker is the first and best herbal medicine from Kan to strengthen the immune system, fight fever, colds, and flus, and shorten the duration of illness. And this one, absolutely, I've seen help prevent febrile seizures in kids as well. It's a little bitter. I have to say my kids love it because I've been giving it to them since they were little. But it can be an acquired taste if your kids have some sensory taste issues. But it is one of the most effective. And literally, when we go on vacation over Christmas time, you know, I carry 8-ounce bottles with us so that we have access to it whenever we need. Lauren asked, do herbal medicines contradict the benefits of homeopathic medicines? No, absolutely not. As I mentioned, you can use the homeopathic medicines in conjunction with any other medicines you're using, whether they're pharmaceutical or herbal. Okay, and the final herbal medicine that I want you to have in your toolkit, you know, have at home just in case, is something called V-Clear, which is also the same as Umka Cold Care Syrup. This is actually an African bush herb called Pelargonium sidoides, which in studies has been found to shorten the duration of colds, flus, and fevers and reduce their severity. And this also tastes really good. And this one also, you can find the V-Clear at Whole Foods. And probably most health food stores as well. So acupressure, I love acupressure. So who here has done acupuncture? Give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, especially let me know if you've tried acupuncture for your kids, because acupuncture for kids, I do practice acupuncture with kids and it is so incredibly effective. Kids respond beautifully. Acupuncture is relatively easy in kids, and you're thinking, well, how's my kid gonna sit on a table for half an hour? It's not like that. It's literally like a 2-minute treatment. That's it. The acupuncture needle goes in, a little stimulation, and right out. But acupressure is a great way for mamas and papas at home to benefit from those acupuncture points with your hands, right? With loving touch, right? So the most important, Christina writes, not for our kids yet. So I love the word yet, but if you haven't tried acupuncture, if you have access to acupuncturists who see children, it's incredible. I love it. Large intestine 4 is an acupuncture point that has been studied to have fever reducing benefits. It's incredible. So it's one of the most important points to use when your kids are sick. It also helps to boost the immune system. So you could actually do this even just nightly as part of your bedtime routine. As you're reading stories together, you could just be kind of stimulating large intestine 4. It's in the web space between your thumb and your index finger, and you're just going to use firm, gentle pressure. You can do little circles, or you could just even hold steady pressure, maybe for 30 to 60 seconds. It's great for reducing fevers, colds, and flus. It helps with headaches and sinus congestion. It helps with constipation. And as I mentioned, it strengthens the immune system as well. David writes that you can actually do needleless acupuncture called shonishin, and I do shonishin in the practice as well. Shonishin is a Japanese needleless technique that uses little tools to stimulate different acupuncture meridian lines and channels, which is fantastic. So with acupressure, you use your hands, and better yet, use essential oils to those acupressure points to have added therapeutic benefit. So let's get into essential oils. I know many of you guys are using essential oils. Give me a thumbs up or heart if you use essential oils, love essential oils. I love essential oils, but we want to know that essential oils are therapeutic, that they have medicinal and therapeutic properties. They don't just smell good, so we do want to treat them as a therapy, right? We don't necessarily want to overuse them. So with essential oils, you always want to dilute for kids, right? So again, remember on your workbook, you have this space to write all this down, okay? But you always want to dilute them for kids in a carrier oil. I love all the hearts and the likes I'm getting because essential oils have become so popular. Everyone loves them. They smell delicious, right? In fact, just before I came on, I had a little peppermint essential oil to just wake me up and keep me alert, for this masterclass. I had a little lavender, just to relax and get kind of in the space to be able to teach you guys. So we just want to use caution with eucalyptus essential oil in really young kids and infants because, some of the studies have shown that it can slow down respiration, especially if put too close to the nose. And as a reminder, there's lots of different ways to use essential oils. You can diffuse them using a diffuser. You can inhale them. What I sometimes will do, literally I have, I have my essential oils, like I have a little roller ball here that I'll just put in the palm of my hand and I'll rub my hands together and just take a slow inhale directly, of the essential oil that's already diluted in my little roller ball. This is great for kids to bring to school if they just need a little, kind of pick me up during the day or a little anxiety relief during the day. You can use them topically, rub them on the feet, or put a few drops into the bath. So some of the best. Delina wrote, where's the workbook? So Delina, if you scroll all the way to the top of the comments, I'm sorry, I couldn't figure out how to pin that comment, but there is a link to the workbook and you're going to have the replay right after. So you can download the workbook and go through and write down all your notes, okay? So yes, and on your work, you have a place to write down all the different medicines and foods and vitamins that I'm talking about. So some of my favorite essential oil options for fever in particular are lavender. I mean, who doesn't love lavender, right? It's beautiful, it smells great, but lavender really does have therapeutic properties. It reduces fever, reduces inflammation and pain, also helps with relaxation and with calming and with sleep, right? All the things you want for your kids when they're sick. Peppermint is a great essential oil for your kids if they have the kind of fever where they're, hot and sweaty and stripping off their clothes and want the blankets off, right? Because you want to cool their body down. Peppermint, interestingly, has also been shown to increase white blood cell activity. Cinnamon, on the other hand, is great for stimulating circulation and for kids when they're chilly and shivering and they want 10 blankets on them and a hat and mittens on them, even though they're burning up and super hot. So cinnamon essential oil can help to kind of heat the body up a little bit and help them break the fever and get a sweat. Okay, so essential oils can be absolutely safely used in kids. There are a lot of different cautions out there, but if you know what you're doing, use them, just a little bit goes a long way, and always dilute them. Then they're a great adjunct to your natural medicines toolkit. Okay, so there you have it. I'm going to go through some of these questions. Ashley wrote, what about pre-made mixes like Thieves? So everyone has different favorite brands. I am, fairly brand neutral. I've used doTERRA, I've used Young Living, I use Elizabeth Van Buren, which I love. You just want to make sure that they're really high quality and have therapeutic benefits. But there are blends like Thieves Oil from Young Living. There is On Guard from doTERRA. There is it's called Immune Blend from Elizabeth Van Buren. It's all the same blend. It's basically the same traditional blend that was used, way back in sort of the Middle Ages, to fight the bubonic plague. Those blends are fine too. You can use multiple essential oils together. So I am going to go through some of the questions and see if you have any questions. Gina asked about eucalyptus not being safe. It helps with cough. Absolutely, it helps with cough. I'm just talking really about little kids, like infants and very young kids. Just to be cautious using it, I have to say I did use eucalyptus on my kids when they would have their kind of wet little kind of wheezy-ish coughs when my son did when he was little, but just dilute, and don't use it right close to their nose or to their face. Okay. All right. So thank you guys for staying with me. This has been a long masterclass, and I wanted to leave you guys with something special. Okay, these are some of my tips that I teach to my patients in my practice and use in my practice. But if you're ready to learn more, I have a special gift for you, because I was really trying to think about how can I offer more to you, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. Kids get sick with so many more things besides fever and with flus, and there's so many different remedies to use to kind of incorporate into your natural medicines toolkit. So I have a course online that many of you guys, right? Kathy is online. She's taken the Everyday Holistic Pediatrics course. It's my online video course of all of my pediatrician approved and evidence-backed natural remedies for your kids' everyday common health concerns. So I want to share that with you guys, because in Everyday Holistic Pediatrics, it's going to arm you with so many tools to keep your kids healthy, whether it's cold and flu season or whether it's the summertime or whether it's the springtime, no matter what's going on with them. It can help you avoid unnecessary antibiotics, because that's what I want for your kids. So avoid unnecessary antibiotics, avoid unnecessary trips to the ER, to the doctor, avoid unnecessary costs and wasted time, for these medications and visits that aren't needed. When they're needed, but so many times they're not. And also really dive in and give you more specifically the exact brands and the exact dosages that I recommend and use with my kids and my patients, because we just can't go through all of that in this masterclass. So it's all in the course for you guys. And most of all, it will give you peace of mind, right? If you've taken the course, anyone on the talk right now, if you've taken the course, let me know, give me a heart, give me a thumbs up. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know, how you're doing with the course, and really share with others your experience. Because in the course, you're going to get 5 core modules. This is where you get 5 core modules that teach you more specifically in-depth how to use your natural medicines toolkit, how to boost your kids' immune system, more in-depth, general principles when they're sick, when to call the doctor, and also how to know when your kid actually needs antibiotics, right? That's a question I get all the time. How do I know when my kid needs antibiotics? Well, I'll share with you some of my tips for how to know when they need antibiotics, and when they do, how to protect their gut microbiome after antibiotics. And then you'll get condition-specific modules. And in each condition-specific module, I go through an overview of that condition, when to call the doctor specifically for that condition, and each of the different natural medicines to use to treat that condition effectively. We'll go through fever more in depth, cold and flu, coughs, earaches, and stomach flu and vomiting. So again, I just show you what's in the course. What's in the course I think is golden for you guys, and I love carrying with me. And giving to my family over the holidays, is the putting it all together cheat sheets. These are PDF handouts that you can print out, take with you anywhere, put it on your phone in your phone documents. And so, this is an example of the fever cheat sheet, right? And, one mom wrote that these cheat sheets are incredibly helpful, little cheat sheets, so you don't have to take notes and go back through all the various videos to find the recommended remedies. These are just some of the things that the feedback I love getting, because when I get positive feedback from you guys, it helps to keep me going and make more courses to have even more value for you guys, right? So I provide the brands, getting confidence to use the natural remedies, watching their child's cold and watching them get better faster, simple lists, right, to help a mom think. Because I'm a mama, I don't have time for, lots and lots of information to sift through. I want easy, quick, resources that I can digest, download, and use right away, right? Well, you also get membership into the Everyday Holistic Pediatrics face group. This is where the magic really does happen. We get support from each other. I pop in regularly to support you on your journey. And I give you in the course all of these free bonus interviews that I want every single mama to have. These are some of my top courses, interviews from the 2 Thriving Child Summits. You'll learn about leaky gut, vaccinations, methylation, essential oils, stress management, EMFs, and screens. So much information that I want parents to have. So my gift to you today, right, because I thought, well, what can I do for you guys for hanging in there with me? I want to be able to offer this to you guys and to all of your friends, a sale on the course to really benefit from this information for the rest of the cold and flu season and year round, right? Because let's face it, a lot of kids get flu-like symptoms over the summertime. So I want to offer it to you at $97. Okay, so just take advantage of it. My husband, right? My team is me and my husband. So we've been busy trying to get all this together, ready on the website for you guys. It's a ton of work, but it's worth it if I know that you guys are going to benefit from it, right? And so the information you can find on the healthykidshappykids.com website /Everyday Holistic Pediatrics, and you can use your special gift code for being part of the Masterclass, which is BTS 100. Okay, so this is for everyone who's listened to the Masterclass. Again, the Masterclass is going to be up for replay over the next few days on Facebook and also posted on YouTube. This code is for you guys, but know that if you have friends or family members that you feel could really benefit from this information, feel absolutely free to share the code. Feel absolutely free to share the links to the replay. We're gonna have the sale on until this Sunday at midnight, Sunday, September 16th at midnight Pacific Standard Time. At which time I become a pumpkin and then I get on with the next week. And I'll be busy working on our next masterclass next week, which is how to reduce your child's anxiety naturally. So that's going to be another great session, because really, what kid and adult doesn't need better stress management tools? Okay, so let me know, guys, if you have any questions. I'm going to go through this. I'll stick with you guys a little bit longer, but if you guys need to jet off, I totally understand. I will have this up for you in no time at all. And some of the questions, so is it lifetime access? Yes, it's going to be online for you. You can listen to it anywhere. It's, and you'll have it for as long as it's on the website, which is, I hope I'm around, for your lifetime, to have you guys, right, have access to it. So absolutely. Now, let's see. I wonder if there's any other questions. So Victor Edward 3 wrote, can this also be applied to teens and adults? Absolutely. So, the homeopathic medicines, the herbal medicines, the supplements that I recommend. I also do give some adult dosages because I use them too, right? When my kids are sick, when I'm sick, I use windbreaker. We all use windbreaker. Windbreaker is good for the whole family. We all use vitamin D. We all use fish oils. So this is something that you can use any single time of any point in your life. Okay, so again, thank you guys so much for sticking with me to the end. You'll get an email link for the replay, or you can just hang out for just a little bit. It's probably going to be up, I mean, for sure by tomorrow if you want to listen to it again. And feel free to share this with friends, family who missed it, anyone who who could benefit. And I really hope you can join me next week. I'll look forward to talking with you again for another masterclass. All right. I will talk to you guys next week. Bye. Have a great night.